As an ally to LGBT plus physicists, it was important to me to get involved in improving the environment because I have a number of friends and colleagues whom I value very highly who are members of the LGBT plus community. And I feel a strong responsibility to sort of clean up my patch and make it as welcoming and inclusive as possible, because that's how we do good science, and that's how we are good people. So the first edition of the Best Practices Guide came out in 2014, and we updated it. The new edition came out in April 2018. We added several new sections, so we tried to address travel issues much more specifically. We added a lot about classroom teaching, and we were able to recruit about 24 beta readers from various different communities who were kind enough to look over our guide and give us some really excellent suggestions in order to improve our recommendations and in some cases make new ones. We also had a big advantage that we didn't have for the first edition, which was that in the intervening 4 years there had been several more studies in the literature about LGBT plus people in STEM. Most of these studies are more about identifying the problems and a little bit less about finding an effective solution. But identifying the problems is a huge first step, and we were really glad to be able to rely on this research, not only to give some numbers to our scientific community, but also to provide some quotes and anecdotes that could help humanize issues that sometimes seem abstract. I found a study done at the University of Iowa that showed a really dramatic impact of safe zone stickers. So these are the little stickers that you get. You can go and do safe zone training to show, okay, I've learned something about issues facing the LGBT plus community. I've learned some things about language. I want my office to be a safe place for people to discuss different aspects of their identity. Simply starting to put these stickers on the doors of faculty members and simply signaling this openness to conversation had what seemed to me an outsized impact in the way that students felt about the environment and how open and welcoming they thought it was. So it was really stunning to me that such a seemingly small thing, an investment of a couple of hours of time and a tiny piece of door real estate could really be helpful. One thing in the guide that may be surprising to many people who haven't thought about it is a very important principle, which is don't out somebody without their permission. It may seem like a supportive thing to do, say to share with the undergraduate students, and hey, our colloquium speaker happens to be a gay man, or to mention in a recommendation letter how a student has done a lot of work with the local safe zone training or the LGBT plus center on campus. But you really have to take your lead from the person in question. There are a lot of factors that you're not aware of, so it's important to ask permission before sharing this aspect of someone's identity, and it's important to respect the answer that you get. The Constructive Interference Group is a reading and discussion group that's primarily to support women and minorities in the physics department. So I think the main way that constructive interference improves the environment is through fostering a sense of community, of like-minded people who care about diversity. So it's not all women, it's not all members of minority groups who are attending the lunches, but we get to know each other. You have an avenue for sharing something disturbing that might have happened, for getting advice, for getting sympathy, for building professional skills, and for thinking about these things in a somewhat different way. No identity exists in a vacuum. A lot of the issues that LGBT plus people face in science are different facets of issues that are also faced by women in science or by members of minorities in science. So, for example, we talked about the name change. name change issues. Even as a straight cisgender woman, I was able to provide some personal experience related to name change issues because I changed my surname in graduate school when I married, and I have run into some surprising problems with that. So it's in many cases a change to be more gender neutral, more inclusive of different sexualities also helps women also who do not identify as LGBT+, also helps people with disabilities who do not identify as LGBT+, also helps people from different ethnic groups who don't identify as LGBT+, in a similar way to how elevator access helps people who use wheelchairs and helps people who push strollers. Everyone can benefit.